I didn't realize how long I had been in survival mode until quite recently. I am always on the move. I've always got a new project, new idea, new line of work, job, community, house move that I'm doing. It's just always something different, essentially rebuilding my life over and over again. And it's been crazy and wonderful, and so many cool and exciting things have come out of it. But it's always go. And recently I moved house, but it was for a place that I can now call home, that I can live long term and finally put down roots. It wasn't until we unpacked the last boxes and the dust kind of settled that there was a sense of quiet and stillness that I've never experienced before in my adult life. And that's when I realized just how long I had been operating in survival mode. That realization hit me way harder than expected. I don't think my nervous system ever fully believed that I was allowed to stay anywhere. And I think I've spent my entire adulthood moving so many different places that I have spent years trying to grow into places that I never had time to fully root. For the first time, there was no underlying feeling that this was temporary. There was no need to mentally prepare ahead for an escape route. There was no scanning around to see where the next place was that I need to go. It was very uncomfortable for me to just let go of that sense of being in survival. But once I did, I realized I had been spending so many years essentially repotting myself from place to place to place that coming to where I'm at now, I can finally grow roots and flourish and grow into my full capacity, which is something I've never been able to do because I'm constantly in the back of my head thinking about how I need to change something dramatically in my life to continue surviving and moving forward. It was when I sat with that and really allowed myself to fully relax into the new environment and trust that this would be home for the foreseeable future that I realized how long I had been living in survival mode. My nervous system just was done bracing itself for what was next. I could finally rest, I could exhale, I could just simply be with who I was in that moment. And that sounds peaceful. That sounds like what you want to attain. But for me, that was deeply uncomfortable. When you're someone who's constantly doing and looking ahead to the next project and marking your sense of worth based on what you can accomplish, it's very hard to sit in that stillness and not feel like you're lazy or not feel like you're, unproductive. And for me, it took me a little bit of time to just be okay and let go of the need for routine or the need for a to-do list or the need to look outside to the future of X, Y, and Z of everything that I wanted to do. I didn't know what to do with the silence. For weeks, everything just slowed down. I spent time being more present and taking care of myself. And maybe that was that I slept in and I didn't actually get up with an alarm clock. Or maybe it was that I was more present with my son. Or maybe it was that I actually spent an evening just enjoying some, TV that I hadn't watched in ages. Ultimately, I just stopped tracking my progress in everything that I was doing or trying to achieve. And that was great. It felt like a holiday, but at the same time, my business slowed, my content slowed, and everything that was kind of structured in my life slowed right down. And I just started to ignore the things that used to keep me going each and every day. For me, that's what I needed in that moment, to be able to just be with who I was and where I was at. Somewhere along those few weeks, my recovery stopped being recovery and it started to turn into avoidance. I started to get this niggly bit in the back of my head going, it's time. It's time to start things again. It's time to create that structure. It's time to ensure that you're still waking up every day and giving it your best. I felt that difference and I knew that I needed to change. One day when I woke up and I just went, that's it. This is the day that I need to step back into all the things that I want to be accomplishing. Not because I have to, but because I still know that this is my purpose and this is me entering the next phase of my life. And part of that meant that I needed to step back on the scale, literally. I've been someone that's been tracking what I've been doing as far as eating and exercise and all of that. And that's what's worked for me to stay on track and to progress with my goals. And the last few weeks, in letting go of everything, I just stopped. I stopped worrying about that and I stopped doing what was working for me. And so I knew when I stepped back on that scale that the number's not going to be what I wanted it to be, but I wasn't expecting what I saw, and it took me by surprise. And immediately I felt shame. I felt shame that it shouldn't be this way, and oh, poor me and all of that. And my brain kicked into high gear to compensate by giving me a slew of excuses as to why the number was the way it was. It was life doing this to me. It was the stress. It was solo parenting. It was, moving house. It was yada, yada, yada. The excuses just kept going. And I sat with that for a minute, and then I realized what my brain was doing, and I had to stop it and remind myself that yes, those things happened. Yes, they played a factor. The reality was it was my choices alone that shaped the direction that I was walking in. And it's not that it was dramatic. It wasn't overnight. It was through the little choices that I had made every day. And that might have been the meals that I justified, the movement that I postponed, or the routines that I had just let go. That it wasn't life doing that to me. I had just allowed myself to be slowly disconnected from my internal compass of what I needed to do. And that was really hard to face because it's uncomfortable to realize that we are out there searching for something or someone to blame for where we stand today. But the reality is, no one else can walk the path that we walk except for ourselves. No one else is taking those steps forward but us. And it's easy to search for those explanations instead of taking responsibility. And that was a realization that really kind of hit me full on in the face of recognizing that we often have that instinct to combat the shame and disappointment and rejection that we have sometimes on a day-to-day basis, that it's life out there doing it to us, when in fact, in life, we are in control of our own choices. It doesn't matter what other people do and say. It doesn't matter what life circumstances come your way. At the end of the day, we have the power to make choices to change how we walk along our path. When I got off the scale that day and acknowledged that, yes, it was disappointing to see the number that was there, but I was in full control of changing that number. It was time for me to own that. Owning it didn't mean sitting in the shame and wallowing in it. It meant being honest with myself. My weight and health has been a circular, goal-orientated thing for so long. I know what I need to eat to make my body feel energetic and healthy and vibrant. And I know what I need to do for exercise that I enjoy, that I have fun in, that makes me feel strong and fit and healthy and happy and all of that. I know that. It's all up here. But there's a gap between having it all as knowledge and taking the action to do it. And that's where I had to be really honest with myself and recognize my own patterns of behavior and know that I've been here before. And that's what reminded me then of the 5-second rule by Mel Robbins. I had heard about this years ago, but kind of brushed it aside as being so simple. It was kind of a no-brainer to do. Where the whole idea that instead of allowing your brain to sit with that hesitation and come up with more excuses as to why you shouldn't do something, to instead push yourself within a short time frame of 5 seconds and say, you've got this 5 seconds, and then get your butt in gear. it brought to light the realization of how often I pause between knowing the information I need to move forward and actually acting on it. And that could be how often I talk myself out of things, how often I hesitate, or just simply wait till I'm ready. I'll do that tomorrow. I'll do that next week. I'll start on Monday. All of those sorts of thought processes. And it's not even about the big life decisions. It's about those everyday little decisions like getting up when the alarm goes off, or continuing to track what I eat, or making my exercise routine non-negotiable. All those day-to-day decisions that help me progress forward are the ones that are crucial to not be hesitating on. The big picture, the vision that you have for your life, it's not built through major life changes. It's not built through jumping to a new house, a new city, a new job. It's built through those small everyday decisions that you make again and again and again. You need momentum. You need to continue pushing forward, walking forward, taking steps, making action. But in the last few weeks, what I've realized is there is power in stopping long enough that you give yourself time to process everything, to stop, to be still, to ground ourselves, to allow ourselves to recover from being in survival. You can't live in survival mode forever if you expect to have a life where you fulfill your full capacity. Because survival is great to keep us alive. But if we stay in that state for too long, it keeps us small. We are not able to operate at our optimum level if we are living in survival mode. And part of coming out of survival mode is being able to take responsibility for what put us in that position to begin with. It's not about punishing our actions or having shame for them. It's about taking responsibility for the power in our own choices. And ultimately, our life is the way it is because of the choices that we make on a day-to-day basis. And I think that's what growth's about. It's simply about stripping back the layers of who you are to embrace the person that you've always been. And I invite you to do the same. I'm Shalane Hopkins. I'm an author and momentum coach. And I'm on here talking about all things related to growth and goals and embracing your own capacity and who you are. And if you're someone that's been a people pleaser, or you're in a big transition in your life, or you've just maybe felt a little bit disconnected from yourself and you're trying to regain confidence in who you are, join me one step at a time.